So hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Mel's Gaming, here with another The Hunter Call of the Wild video. Now, I hope I don't sound too off or my voice doesn't sound too different in this video, as I'm still feeling pretty under the weather, but I really wanted to get a video out talking about what happened yesterday, as there is some really interesting discussion going on in the community after the events of yesterday. So, what happened yesterday? EW released a player survey, which I really do recommend actually going and filling out, and I will link it in the description. But amongst this survey, there was a few interesting tidbits. Now, the first one is, if you scroll through the survey, there is the question, what animal would you like to see as the next great one? And it gives you a drop-down list of basically almost all of the species in the Hunter Call of the Wild. I say almost, we'll talk about why I say almost in a minute. But one of the first things that I noticed, and most people noticed when clicking on this list, is that amongst the list of species, there was an animal listed that isn't currently in the game. That species being the Northern Red Munjack. Now, the Northern Red Munjack is a species of muntjac found in South Central and Southeast Asia. Now, this is not like any species we have in the game currently. We do not have anything even remotely similar to the Northern Red Munjack. Now, as I said, this is an animal that is found in South Central and Southeast Asia. This is not the same species as the Reeves Muntjack that we have here in the UK, so this does not point to a possible UK map. However, if this is a potential species that could be coming to the game, seeing as it was actually put into this list, it could possibly point at a future map somewhere in South Central or Southeast Asia where this species resides, which is really, really interesting. So the Northern Red Munjack occurs in 12 countries of South Central and Southeast Asia, including Pakistan, Bhutan, Myanmar, Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, China, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand and Vietnam. It is also present in Hong Kong, and its presence in Malaysia is uncertain. I'm taking that from the Wikipedia page about this species. I'm not a great expert on geography, so I needed somewhere with a list of where this species actually does live. But really, really interesting to see this animal on that list, because as I said, we do not have this species in game, we do not have any maps that are even remotely close to any of these places, so really, really interesting to see. Now, there's always the chance that this species has been put on this list by mistake. I will remind you all of what happened when, I believe it was when New England was coming out and a load of species were getting backfilled, and on that list originally was greater kudu, and we all got really excited thinking greater kudu were coming, and then we got told that it was actually being pulled from the wrong list of species and greater kudu weren't coming. So there's always a chance that this list of species is being pulled from an incorrect list. So I'm sort of tentative about it, but just the fact that it's a species that it wouldn't fit on any map that's currently in game, that's something that, you know, makes me think that there is a potential that this could be either an intentional or accidental hint at where the next map might be. So that's really interesting. Now, yesterday, when I did this survey, there was also a couple of other species listed that aren't currently in the game, but were once in the game. Those being the red squirrel and the Siberian weasel. Now, they both used to be in the game as kind of decorative species. They would sort of run around on the ground and you could see them, but they weren't actually like huntable species. They were just kind of there in the environment to make things feel more alive. Now, that also used to be the case, as far as I remember, with the jackrabbits over on Leighton Lakes, and then they actually made the jackrabbits a huntable species. Now, I might be wrong because that was slightly before I actually got really into the game, so I'm kind of going off of what I have been told. But as far as I know, that is something that happened. So seeing those two species there made me wonder if there is going to be a possible backfill of those two species, maybe actually as huntable Class 1 species, onto the maps that they were originally on, sort of as, like I said, as decoration and things to make the environment feel more alive. Really, really interesting to see. But when I went to actually go and fill out the survey today, they weren't on that list from what I can see, so I don't know if it's been updated overnight and they have been removed, but I do have a screenshot that was posted in my Discord, so thank you to the person that actually posted this, that actually does show those two species being on that list. So again, really, really interesting. Now, the third thing that is really interesting about this list is there is a couple of species that are missing. The two that I noticed that are missing are the Roosevelt elk and the wild boar. Now, some people said that they also had things like Rocky Mountain elk missing from their list. I think that there might possibly be some sort of bug where not all of the species are actually displaying in this list like they're meant to, but wild boar and Roosevelt elk are two species that could be upcoming great ones. And if they are missing from this list intentionally, could that be because they are going to be the next great one, or great ones, rather? And I find that really, really interesting, because I believe there was a survey before, it was either with moose or with fallow deer, I'm pretty sure, where either moose or fallow deer weren't on that list, and then they ended up being the next great one, if I'm remembering correctly. And it just kind of reminded me of that, and seeing that they weren't on that list was really interesting. I personally put roe deer because I would love to see roe deer be the next great one, but this particular question in this survey has a lot of potential. Potential to be pointing towards a new map with the northern red muntjac, pointing towards possible backfill of a couple of, like I said, species that used to be in the game but not actually huntable. Maybe they're going to come back as actually class 1 species. I know a lot of people have been asking for more like really small game, especially squirrels. So, you know, seeing as we're going so long between updates, maybe we'll get to see something like that as well as a new map. That would be really cool. Again, it could be a complete mistake. It could be that this is being pulled from an old list and it lists those as species being in the game even though they're not in the game anymore. So yeah, it could just be that, but it could also be pointing to some backfilling, which would be really cool. I would really love to see these species in game as huntable class 1 species. I think they'd be really fun. I mean, imagine, you know, carrying the 22 around on Medved and seeing weasels popping out of the snow. I think that would be really fun. Or on Hirschfelden and seeing red squirrels running around on the ground. I think that would be really cool, and it would add some more life to those maps. So definitely could be pretty interesting. And then, of course, the wild boar and the Roosevelt elk being missing from that species list. I checked again today, I still can't see them there. So, potential that maybe they are going to be the next great ones, and that's why they're not on that list. Maybe. There's a chance that that could be why, or like I said, it could be some kind of bug with the survey and those species just aren't on that list when they should be. Like I said, I saw at least one person say that they didn't have Rocky Mountain elk on that survey, whereas I've seen other people say that they did have Rocky Mountain elk on that survey. So it seems like there might be some inconsistencies with it, and maybe just because it is such a long list of species, sometimes some of them actually get sort of not displayed correctly. So there's always that chance, but Roosevelt elk and wild boar are amongst the sort of the next species that I would be considering that could be sort of a great one. There's a sort of a little list of great ones that I've thought might be coming next. Roosevelt elk, wild boar and red fox, because they've, you know, they're species that seem to be quite popular. I think they could do cool things with those great ones. Red fox got a remodel, and, you know, there's just a lot of stuff that points to them being potential next great ones. Of course, they're all on base game maps as well, which obviously all of the great ones so far have been on base game maps, so that helps as well. So a lot of really interesting things in this survey. I would love to know what you guys think, and let me know down in the comments if you saw or noticed anything else really interesting with this survey. There was a lot of really good questions, and like I said, I really do recommend going and filling this survey out if you can. It doesn't take very long, and I think that it will be worthwhile information for the dev team to actually have from the player base regarding what we would like to see in the game in the future. But that is going to be it for this video, so thank you so much for watching and for all your support as always, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.